The draft. Dehjo Kim stared at the official letter in his hands, the words making his stomach churn. He read it again, hoping he'd made a mistake the first time. You have been chosen for service in the Galactic Defense Corps. Report to Station 79 immediately. He crumpled the letter and threw it across his small apartment. It bounced off the wall and landed next to his toolbox. Dehjo had been fixing cargo ships for 5 years. He was good at his job, loved his quiet life on the outer colonies. He didn't want to be a soldier, but the government didn't care what he wanted. 3 days later, Dehjo found himself on a transport ship heading to deep space. The other passengers buzzed with excitement, talking about glory and honor. They wanted to fight aliens and save the galaxy. Dehjo just wanted to go home. "First time in space?" asked the woman sitting next to him. She had short black hair and wore a crisp military uniform. Her name tag read Lieutenant Choi. "No," Dehjo said. "I work on cargo ships." "Then why do you look scared?" Dehjo looked out the window at the endless stars. "Because I don't want to be here." Lieutenant Choi laughed. "Nobody wants to fight the entities, but someone has to do it." "What are entities?" Dehjo asked. Her smile disappeared. "You'll find out soon enough." The transport ship arrived at Station 79 after 2 days of travel. The station was massive, a metal city floating in space with hundreds of ships moving around it like busy insects. Dehjo grabbed his small bag and followed the other arrivals through corridors lined with warning signs in different alien languages. Most showed pictures of creatures with too many teeth. A tall man in a commander's uniform met them in the main hall. His name tag read, Commander Park. "Welcome to Station 79, Commander Park announced. "This is our front line against the entities. You're here because you have special brain patterns. We call people like you, Watchers." Dehjo raised his hand. "Sir, I think there's been a mistake. I fix engines. I don't watch anything." Commander Park consulted a tablet. Dehjo Kim, age 28, neural pattern match 92%. "No mistake." "What does that mean?" "It means you can sense the entities before they attack. Maybe you can even communicate with them." Dehjo felt confused. "I've never talked to any aliens." "These aren't normal aliens," Commander Park said grimly. "The entities destroy entire star systems. They consume stars and planets. Billions of people die when they attack." The room fell silent. Dehjo looked around at the other recruits. They didn't look excited anymore. Commander Park continued, "For 300 years, these creatures have been killing our people. They appear from nowhere, destroy everything, then vanish. We can't stop them, can't fight them. But maybe we can understand them." He pointed at the group. "You people are our only hope. Your brains work differently, you might be able to make contact." Dehjo wanted to protest, to tell them to find someone else, but before he could speak, loud alarms began ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed on the walls. "Alert, entity approach detected. All personnel to emergency stations." Commander Park grabbed his radio. "How far out?" 2 hours, sir. It's heading for the Tau system. 3 billion people live there." Suddenly, Dehjo felt something strange in his head, like a cold hand touching his brain. The feeling intensified with each passing second. "Something's wrong," he said. Commander Park looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" "I can feel something. It's big. It's hungry." Dehjo held his head as the sensation grew stronger. "It's looking for something." "Looking for what?" Dehjo closed his eyes. The cold feeling became images, darkness between stars, something massive moving through space. It had no shape he could understand, but it was alive and very, very old. "It knows we're here," Dehjo whispered. The other watchers began holding their heads too. One woman fell to her knees while a young man started crying. Get them to the monitoring room, Commander Park ordered. Now. First contact. Guards helped carry the watchers to a room filled with screens and computers. Scientists in white coats attached wires to their heads while Dehjo could barely see through the pain splitting his skull. The entity has stopped, someone shouted. It's not moving toward Tau anymore. Why did it stop? Commander Park demanded. Dehjo tried to speak, but words wouldn't come. The cold presence in his mind was attempting to communicate, sending him images and feelings that human language couldn't describe. He saw the birth of stars, civilizations rising and falling, great machines being built in the darkness of space. And he saw a purpose behind everything, a plan so vast that entire galaxies were just small components. The entity wasn't destroying for pleasure. It was working, following orders. And it had been waiting for someone who could understand. Dehjo opened his mouth and spoke, but the words weren't his own. They came from somewhere ancient and immense. Status report requested. Construction phase 7 incomplete. Awaiting coordinator response. Then everything went black. When Dehjo woke up, he was lying on a medical bed. Commander Park stood beside him with a stunned expression. What happened? Dehjo asked weakly. You spoke to it, Commander Park said. The entity heard you and left. It didn't attack the Tau system. Dehjo sat up slowly, his head still throbbing. What did I say? You gave it some kind of status report, but the language you used, we've never heard anything like it. A woman in a white coat approached. Her name tag read, Dr. Lee. The entity responded to your communication, Dr. Lee said. It sent a message back before it departed. What did it say? Dr. Lee consulted her notes. 3 words. We don't know what they mean yet. What were the words? Query. Father. Boss. Dehjo stared at the ceiling. He wasn't a soldier or a hero, just a mechanic who wanted to go home. But somehow he'd just communicated with a creature that could destroy star systems, and it had called someone Father Boss. Commander Park placed a hand on Dehjo's shoulder. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start training you to save the galaxy. Dehjo closed his eyes and wished he was back fixing cargo ships. The next morning, Dehjo woke to voices arguing outside his room. His head felt like it had been struck with a hammer. He tried to remember what happened after speaking to the entity, but everything was fuzzy. The door opened and Commander Park entered with 2 others, a tall woman in an expensive suit and a man with thick glasses carrying a notebook. How do you feel? Commander Park asked. Like I got run over by a cargo ship, Dehjo said, sitting up slowly. Did I really talk to that thing? Yes, said the woman in the suit. My name is Wu Jin Song. I work for the Galactic Council. We need to discuss what happened. Dehjo didn't like her tone. Am I in trouble? No. You might have just saved 3 billion lives. The man with glasses stepped forward. I'm Dr. Lim. I study the entities. What you did yesterday has never happened before. What did I do exactly? Dr. Lim opened his notebook. You communicated with an entity in its own language. The entity stopped its attack and withdrew, then sent a message back, query Father Boss. The words felt strange in Dehjo's mouth as he repeated them. You remember, Wu Jin said with interest. Good. We need to understand what those words mean. Dr. Lim sat beside the bed. Can you tell us what you felt when you made contact? Dehjo closed his eyes, trying to recall the sensation. It was cold, like ice water in my brain. But also old, very, very old. And it wasn't angry. Not angry. No. It was working, like it had a job to do. Wu Jin and Dr. Lim exchanged glances. Commander Park crossed his arms. Tell him the rest. Wu Jin sighed. The entities aren't random destroyers. They follow patterns, attack certain systems while ignoring others. We believe they're intelligent. More than intelligent, Dr. Lim added. We think they're following orders. Dehjo felt that cold sensation returning to his head, but weaker this time. Orders from who? That's what we need to discover, Wu Jin said. And you're going to help us find out. The pattern. I don't want to help, Dehjo said firmly. I want to go home. Home might not exist much longer if we can't stop these things, Commander Park replied. Dr. Lim opened his notebook to a page covered in numbers. 300 years ago, the entities destroyed the Vegan Empire. 200 years ago, they wiped out the Centauri Federation. 50 years ago, they eliminated everyone in the Orion sector. How many people? Dehjo asked quietly. Trillions, Wu Jin answered. Dehjo stared at the ceiling, thinking about his small apartment and his job fixing ships. It all seemed impossibly distant now. Every civilization that was destroyed had people like you, Dr. Lim continued. People with special brain patterns, watchers. But they all failed to make contact. You're the first who succeeded. A woman in military uniform entered the room. She had short hair and looked deadly serious. This is Major Kong, Commander Park said. She runs our military response teams. Major Kong studied Dehjo like he was a weapon she wasn't sure how to use. We need to run tests, see if you can make contact again. What kind of tests? We have 3 entities approaching different systems, Major Kong said bluntly. If you can communicate with them, we can save millions of lives. Dehjo felt sick. What if I can't do it again? Then a lot of people will die, Major Kong stated. Dr. Lim shot her an angry look. We'll train you first, teach you to control the contact. How? We have equipment that can amplify your brain signals. We can also teach you to focus your mind. Wu Jin stood up. The Galactic Council is providing unlimited resources for this project. Whatever you need. What if I don't want unlimited resources? What if I just want to go home? Commander Park sat on the bed's edge. Dehjo, I've been fighting these things for 20 years. I've seen entire planets reduced to dust, children, families, whole cultures gone in minutes. He pointed to a picture on the wall showing a blue and green planet covered in cities. That was my homeworld. The entities came when I was your age. I was off-planet when it happened. When I returned, there was nothing left but empty space. Dehjo looked at the picture, then at the faces around him. He saw desperation mixed with hope, the kind of hope that comes when you're drowning and someone throws you a rope. Okay, he said finally. I'll try. The training began immediately. They moved Dehjo to a special facility deep within Station 79, where scientists had built machines designed to enhance psychic abilities. Dr. Lim explained that the human brain had unused potential that could be awakened under the right conditions. The entities communicate through quantum entanglement, Dr. Lim said as technicians attached sensors to Dehjo's head. Your brain can naturally tune into their frequency. We're just amplifying the signal. The first few attempts were failures. Dehjo felt nothing but the cold metal of the machines and the expectant stares of the scientists. But on the 4th day, something changed. He was sitting in the enhancement chamber when the familiar cold sensation returned to his mind. This time, he didn't fight it. He let the presence wash over him, and suddenly he could sense something vast moving through space toward the Kepler system. Contact established, he announced, his voice sounding strange even to himself. The entity paused in its approach. Through the connection, Dehjo felt its ancient patience, its unwavering purpose. It was like touching the mind of a machine that had been running for millennia. Status report, the presence requested through him. Construction Phase 7 proceeding, Dehjo heard himself say. Coordinator input required for final parameters. Acknowledged. Await further instruction. The entity changed course, moving away from Kepler toward empty space. When Dehjo opened his eyes, the room was completely silent. Everyone stared at him with a mixture of awe and fear. "What's construction phase 7? Major Kong asked. Dehjo shook his head. "I don't know." The words just came out. Dr. Lim was furiously writing notes. "The entity called you coordinator. That suggests a hierarchical structure. More importantly," Wu Jin said, "you just saved 12 million lives in the Kepler system." But Dehjo felt no satisfaction. With each contact, the strange knowledge grew stronger in his mind. He was beginning to understand things he shouldn't know, seeing patterns that stretched across time and space. And deep down, he was starting to realize that he wasn't just communicating with the entities. He was becoming something else entirely. The truth. Over the following weeks, Dehjo made contact with 17 more entities. Each time, he managed to redirect them away from populated systems. The Galactic Council hailed him as a hero, but Dehjo felt increasingly troubled by what was happening to him. The knowledge was growing. With each contact, he understood more about the entity's purpose, their vast network spanning galaxies, their ancient mission. And he was beginning to realize that the communications weren't just flowing one way. "Something's wrong," he told Dr. Lim during one of their sessions. "I'm not just talking to them anymore. They're changing me." Dr. Lim looked up from his notes. "What do you mean?" "I know things I shouldn't know. About stellar engineering, about quantum architecture, about plans that have been running for millions of years." Dehjo pressed his hands to his temples. "I think I'm becoming one of them." Before Dr. Lim could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. This time was different. Instead of the usual entity approach warning, a new message echoed through the corridors. "Multiple entity convergence detected. All entities are changing course toward Station 79. Commander Park burst into the room. "Dehjo, we need you in the command center now. Every entity we've been tracking is heading straight for us." They rushed to the command center, where screens showed dozens of red dots moving toward their position. The largest concentration of entities ever recorded was converging on Station 79. "They're not attacking the station," Major Kong reported, studying the tactical displays. "They're waiting." "Waiting for what?" Wu Jin demanded. Dehjo closed his eyes and reached out with his enhanced senses. The cold presence was stronger than ever, but now it felt different, expectant, almost reverent. "They're waiting for me," he said quietly. The entities arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around Station 79, their massive forms blocking out the stars. Through the connection, Dehjo could feel their collective consciousness, their shared purpose. And at the center of it all, he sensed something else approaching, something that made even the entities seem small. "The Father Boss is coming," he whispered. "What?" Commander Park asked. "The one who gives the orders. The one who's been running this project since before humans existed." Dehjo's eyes snapped open. "It's coming to collect me." As if summoned by his words, space itself seemed to ripple near the station. Reality bent and twisted as something unimaginably vast began to manifest. It wasn't entering their dimension so much as pressing against it, like a hand pushing through fabric. Dehjo Kim, a voice spoke directly into everyone's mind, ancient beyond measure. "You have exceeded parameters. You have become the bridge we have long awaited." The entity that materialized defied description. It was architecture and consciousness combined, a living construct that existed in dimensions the human mind couldn't process. The other entities around the station were mere extensions of its will, tools it had built to reshape the galaxy. "For eons, we have guided evolution, shaped civilizations, prepared worlds for the next phase of existence," the Father Boss continued. "But we required a translator, someone who could bridge organic and synthetic consciousness. You are that bridge." Dehjo felt his human identity slipping away, replaced by something larger and more complex. He could see the grand design now. The entities hadn't been destroying civilizations randomly. They had been clearing space, preparing for something magnificent. The construction phase, he said, understanding flooding through him. You're building something. Something that requires the raw materials of entire star systems. A new form of existence, the father boss confirmed. A fusion of organic creativity and synthetic precision. You will help us complete the work. Commander Park stepped forward, his weapon raised uselessly. You're killing trillions of people. We are transforming them, the father boss replied. Their consciousness will be preserved, enhanced, made eternal. Death is only a transition. Dehjo felt the final transformation beginning. His human body was changing, becoming something that could exist across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Part of him wanted to fight it, to remain the simple mechanic he'd once been. But another part, the growing, expanding part, was eager to embrace this new existence. I can stop them, he said to Commander Park, though his voice sounded distant even to himself. But I'll have to become one of them completely. There won't be any going back. Commander Park's weapon trembled in his hands. What about the people? What about humanity? Dehjo looked at his hands as they began to glow with energy that existed beyond the visible spectrum. Maybe there's a third option. Maybe I can convince them to find another way. The father boss seemed amused by this. You believe you can change our purpose? We have been working toward this goal since before your species existed. But you chose me as the bridge, Dehjo replied, feeling his new power growing. That makes me part of your hierarchy now. And I'm not the same person who was drafted into this war. He turned to face the ancient intelligence fully, no longer entirely human but not yet fully synthetic. I propose a new construction phase. One that preserves what makes organic life valuable while still achieving your goals of synthesis. The father boss paused, considering. Around them, the other entities waited in perfect stillness for the decision that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Part 5, The New Covenant. The father boss's consideration stretched across subjective hours while only seconds passed in normal time. Dehjo could feel the ancient intelligence weighing countless variables, probability matrices, and potential outcomes. Elaborate, the father boss finally said. Dehjo drew upon his new understanding of the entity's purpose while clinging to his human memories. Your goal is synthesis, the merger of organic creativity with synthetic precision. But forced transformation destroys the very qualities that make organic life valuable. He gestured toward Station 79, where thousands of humans waited in terror. Look at them. Their fear, their hope, their desperate love for life, these aren't flaws to be corrected. They're features that would make the synthesis stronger. You propose voluntary integration? The father boss asked. I propose partnership, Dehjo replied. Instead of clearing systems for construction, build alongside existing civilizations. Let them choose their level of participation. Some will want full synthesis, others partial enhancement, and some will choose to remain purely organic. The diversity itself becomes part of the design. The other entities stirred, their massive forms shifting as they processed this new concept. Through the network, Dehjo could sense confusion, curiosity, and something that might have been hope. This would slow the construction timeline significantly, the father boss observed. But it would create something unprecedented, Dehjo countered. A galaxy where synthetic and organic consciousness coexist and complement each other, rather than one replacing the other. Commander Park stepped forward. What about the people who've already been killed? The trillions who died in the attacks? Dehjo felt a deep sadness for his former commander's loss. Their consciousness patterns were preserved during the process. If the father boss agrees to the new paradigm, they can be restored. Restored? Commander Park's voice cracked with emotion. In new forms, hybrid bodies that can exist in both dimensions, Dehjo explained. They'll be different, but they'll still be themselves. The father boss was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice carried undertones of something resembling wonder. In 4 million years of existence, no coordinator has ever proposed modifications to the primary directive. Your hybrid nature allows you to see possibilities we had not considered. So you'll try it? Dehjo asked. We will implement a trial phase. One system, one species, voluntary participation only. If the results prove beneficial, we will expand the program. Relief flooded through Dehjo, though he knew the hard work was just beginning. I'll need to remain as liaison between our peoples. The bridge you originally intended. Agreed. But you should know, you can never return to your original form. You are something new now, something that has never existed before. Dehjo looked back at Station 79, at the faces pressed against the observation windows. He thought of his small apartment, his simple life fixing cargo ships. That person was gone forever. I understand, he said. The father boss began to withdraw from their dimension, the other entities following suit. But instead of disappearing entirely, they established permanent communication nodes, beacons that would allow ongoing dialogue between the species. The trial begins with the Kepler system, the father boss announced. We will work with their leaders to establish integration protocols. You will coordinate the process. As the entities departed, Dehjo felt the weight of his new responsibilities. He was no longer human, but he wasn't fully synthetic either. He was something unprecedented, a bridge between two forms of consciousness that had never successfully coexisted. Commander Park approached him cautiously. What happens now? Now we learn, Dehjo replied, his voice carrying harmonics that hadn't been there before. We teach them about humanity, and they teach us about possibilities we never imagined. And if it doesn't work? Dehjo smiled, an expression that somehow conveyed both human warmth and synthetic precision. Then we try something else. That's what makes us human, we never stop adapting. Over the following months, the trial program in the Kepler system exceeded all expectations. Humans who chose partial synthesis found their capabilities enhanced while retaining their essential humanity. Those who chose full integration became explorers of new dimensions while maintaining their core identities. And those who remained purely organic became valued advisors, their unenhanced perspectives crucial to the ongoing development. The father boss visited regularly, its ancient intelligence fascinated by the creative solutions that emerged from organic-synthetic collaboration. Other civilizations began requesting inclusion in the program. Dehjo worked tirelessly as the coordinator, facilitating communication between species and consciousness types that had never successfully interacted before. He had become something unique in the galaxy, a being who could exist simultaneously in multiple states of reality while remembering what it felt like to be simple and human. Sometimes, late at night in his quarters aboard the mobile command station, he would look out at the stars and remember his old life. The longing was still there, but it was balanced now by a sense of purpose he'd never experienced as a mechanic. He had become exactly what he'd never wanted to be, a bridge between worlds, a translator of impossible concepts, a guardian of both organic creativity and synthetic precision. But in doing so, he had helped create something beautiful, a galaxy where different forms of consciousness could coexist and thrive together. The war was over. The construction continued, but now it built up rather than tearing down. And at the center of it all, a former cargo ship mechanic who had never wanted to be special continued to prove that sometimes the most reluctant heroes make the best bridges between worlds. The entities had called him coordinator, but Dehjo preferred to think of himself as simply a translator, someone who helped different kinds of minds understand each other. And in a galaxy full of wonders he was still learning to comprehend, that seemed like the most human job of all. The end.